Hello and welcome to another edition of the Rollin Illini. I am Joshua joined by Miles Hill, Andrew Sclair with UPTV, Avery Schaefer, and special guest today, Gabe Den Braber. I got it right? Hell yeah, I got it right. We're back at it again. It's another edition of the Rollin Illini.
Yes, sir.
We're so glad you could be joining us this week. First and foremost, Avery and Zane Bando, who is our social media director, did a pre-recorded show last week. They did a fantastic job, so thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the reason they did that show was because the Illinois wheelchair basketball team, Miles Hill, me, and Gabe were at the Arc playing in a tournament. And we just wanted to thank you guys so much for everyone who came out and helped us and cheered on. The atmosphere Friday night during the normal time of the show was incredible. It was not the result we wanted, but the crowd support there was absolutely incredible, and so that's why it's great to be in Illini always. But that's mainly what we're going to talk about today on the show. At the end, we're going to talk a little bit about Russia getting reinstated by the International Paralympic Committee. But first, we're going to talk about the men's and women's games this weekend. So we're going to start on the women's side before we hit our first break. So it's the Illinois women began their weekend playing the Alabama Crimson Tide women. The final score of that game was
a lot too little. It was like 73.
At 73 to 27 was the final.
Wow. I don't even know what was that.
Yeah, the longest run of the game for Alabama was 14-0. The longest run for the Illini was 4-0. The Illini's leading scorer was Emily Oberst with 10 points. She went 4 for 9, 2 for 3 for her free throws. And then second was Marley Wagstaff with 8, and Erica Wilson had 7. The Illini shot 29.3% of the game and 57.1% from the free throw line. Whereas for the Alabama Crimson Tide, Erin Young had 22 points. Katharina Lang had 16. Georgia Inglis had 6, and Rosalie Lalonda had 8. So, I mean, in that game, a lot of that had to do with Alabama's bigs. We couldn't match, or the women could not match with the Alabama bigs. Yeah. And that's been a problem all year. This game was actually really close through, I think, the first quarter and almost to halftime was a really close game. They pulled away because they just had that height on us.
Yep.
So that was the Alabama game.
I mean, doesn't help shooting 29%.
Yeah,
that doesn't help either, but...
You don't need to be a math major to figure out shooting 29% is not gonna cut it a lot of the time.
Yeah. So then the second game didn't get any easier, as that was probably the number 2 team in the women's division. They then got to play the number 1 team in the women's division, the UTA Moving Mavs, a team that has 3 Paralympians on it: Morgan Wood, Abby Duncan, and arguably the best player in the world, Rose Hollerman.
On the women's side.
On the women's side, best player in the world. And so that game was also a loss for the Illini. The final score was 63 to 40, so a little bit less of a lead. And actually, it was really close at the end of the first quarter. So the women played quarters.
Yes.
And the final score at the end of the first quarter was UTA was only up by 2. Then the second quarter they outscored us by 6, which means they're up by 8 at the half. And then kind of went on a run. It's quarter by quarter, it was really close all the way through, and they were playing the Stars the whole way. It was a really, really good effort by our ladies.
I mean, obviously UTA didn't have one of their stars.
Yeah, Morgan Wood's out for the season with a hand injury.
Yeah, for a hand, but not for the whole season. So she said she would be back by nationals.
She said she'd be back by
nationals. Source from her.
Confirmed source by her.
Straight from the horse.
By the way, are at the State Farm Center.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Gotta plug it in.
Yeah.
March 14th to the 16th.
We're gonna get there to talk about it in a minute. The leading scorer for the Illini was Erica Wilson. She had 14 points with 7 for 11.
Bless you, Erica.
She was hot.
Really, really good performance by Erica Wilson. She also had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, had 3 turnovers, and a steal. The second leading scorer was Emily Oberst, one that you would expect. She had a double-double with 10 rebounds and she had 9 assists. So she was 1 assist away from that triple-double. She played 40 minutes. Those were the only 2 Illini in double digits. Marley Wagstaff had 8. Michaela Jones had 2, and Jordan Lee had 4 for the Illini for 40 points. For the UTA moving Mavs, Rose Hollerman had 22 points, 8 rebounds, and 1 assist. Abby Duncan had 16 points. Darlene Hunter had 7 points. And then a couple of their players had 2 points. So Rose Hollerman had the vast majority of UTA moving Mavs points. But overall, that was a really, really good performance by the ladies. Gritty performance. They shot 43% to UTA's 45%. So a really close shooting percentage-wise. So there were a lot of positives, I think, to take out of that game for the ladies.
Yeah, I did think that the ladies played really well, especially bringing a lot of energy.
Yeah, that was the Friday night game, right? Friday at 4?
No, Friday
Saturday.
night.
Oh, that was Saturday?
Friday night.
Saturday,
Yeah,
yes.
they played Bama at 8 on Friday.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, and then for the cap off, this game was actually probably the most competitive game of the weekend.
Craziest.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, it was the women in their final game. It was like at 6 p.m., 8 p.m. What time was that?
8. You think it was 8?
It was like
No, it was 6 on
it
Saturday.
was at 6 o'clock on Saturday. The women played the University of Wisconsin Whitewater women.
Correction, 4 o'clock because we
4.
played at 6.
That's right. They played before us.
Ooh, you're right.
Yeah, you're right. We should know these things.
Yeah, we should.
Let's see. And so that game, the final score of that game was a heartbreaker for the Illini. It was 41 Whitewater, 40 Illinois.
Wow.
It was a heck of a comeback for the Illini, though. At one point, Whitewater led 39-23, 16-point lead, and the Illini came back.
Wow, I mean, 39-23, and
They only scored 41.
wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It was a crazy game.
Okay, so here's the craziest stat of this game. In the fourth quarter, the Illini outscored Whitewater 15-2.
Wow, way to clamp down.
It was
on
a great game.
Way
Yeah.
to go, D.
Yeah, the
It was-
first half was rough for the Illini. They got outscored 12-6 in the first quarter and 15-8 in the second.
That's what really brought them in that hole.
But in the second half, they picked it up and outscored them in both periods. So 41-40, and actually it was kind of funny. We were talking about this. It was a 4-point game. Emily Oberst hit a buzzer beater 3. Was trying to look for the foul, didn't get it, and to lose by 1. A heartbreaking loss, but a really, really another gritty performance. Emily Oberst led with 16 points, including 1 for 2 from 3-point range, 7 for 18 overall, and 1 for 6 from the free throw line. Marley Wagstaff had 12 points.
That's my
Alia Banyas had 8.
That's my class too.
And then Erica Wilson only had 2 points in this game. Emily Oberst, once again, with a double-double with 14 total rebounds and 7 assists in 40 minutes of gameplay. For the Whitewater Warhawks, it was Lindsay Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
They misspelled that.
I don't know.
I think it's Zerberg.
I think it's yeah. We'll go with Zerberg.
Yeah, Zerberg. Another Team USA athlete. She had 15 points, 5 rebounds to lead the Warhawk women. And then, let's see.
Guessing Josie D. Hart was next, right?
I'm pretty sure she was.
It says she had 0 points, but I know that's not true.
That's
That's
not
not-
true.
I
I
know
can
that's-
vividly imagine her taking at least 8 points.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll
So-
say
It's kind of funny because they have Lindsay with 15 and then a couple other for 18 total points.
that.
That ain't it, Chief.
Matty Ice. Hey, if you're listening, Matty Ice, get good, bro.
Yeah.
Get better, man.
So, I mean, really gritty performance. It's not the way the women wanted the weekend to go, but I know they appreciated the support, and it was that last game. They progressively got better as the weekend went along.
Oh yeah.
So that was good. Now on to the games that we played in and could talk about a little bit. It was not the weekend we wanted. So we were supposed
At
to
all.
a little bit of background. We were supposed to play 3 games this weekend.
4. Even bigger background. Supposed to play
Well,
4 games.
Up
Gotta
until
give backstory. Come
No,
on.
you don't have to give them the backstory.
Oh, you might as well.
Yeah, you might as well.
Go
All
for
right.
the backstory.
Yeah. Let's
We
hear
all
it.
want to
Gabe.
hear it.
You explain the backstory.
Okay, so we had a total of 5 collegiate teams coming to our tournament. SMSU, Alabama, Mizzou, and UNO. And then we have Edinburgh too. And UNO, they dropped out a couple weeks beforehand.
Mhm.
So we played against them. That dropped us to 3 games. The day of our home
The day before.
Yeah, day before our home tournament on Thursday.
Yeah.
SMSU, they're from Marshall, Minnesota. They got clobbered with snow.
Yeah, Southwest Minnesota State had like a really bad
Yeah,
So
it
blizzard.
was
they
bad.
they weren't allowed to travel and so they dropped that game. So we ended up only playing 2, which was 6 on both days.
6 p.m. on Friday, 6 p.m. on Saturday, which is weird because you never have 24 hours between the game.
No.
But before we get into this and how the men played this weekend, I just need to let you know that today's show and the Illini Drive is brought to you by the University of Illinois Division of Intercollegiate Athletics, Inspire, Achieve. Men, the Illini able-bodied basketball team is going on a tear right now, 4-0, including
AO
wins.
Sumo.
AO
of last 7, 2.
6 of last 7, including wins against Michigan State.
Oh, yeah.
Gabe's beloved team.
Hey,
Ohio State,
I'm an
too.
Illini at heart, baby.
Oh, I'm so
Maryland, and then Ohio State last night in a really, really gritty game.
Yeah.
AO hit a really clutch 3.
Dagger. That was deep.
Did you see what
Yes.
Georgie said?
Yes.
Yeah, coming out of a timeout, for those of you that don't know, Georgie's like, I'm going to seal you in. He's like, no, bro, I'm going to hit this tray. And he hit it.
Oh, dang.
And, so,
Not only
That's
that,
cold-blooded. That's cold-blooded. Just
so yeah,
call your shot.
so there's a few more opportunities to see your Fighting Illini women's and men's basketball teams play. If you want tickets, and you should because they're both incredible, go to fightingillini.com, click on the tickets tab, and then buy your tickets, and we will see you at the State Farm Center.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, buy tickets. There's also a lot of other sports you should be supporting right now. Softball's kicking up into gear. Got some big wins over some top 25 teams last weekend in Houston. And then baseball's also started today. I think was opening day for them.
I think today was.
Yeah.
I think a lot of collegiate division.
Gymnastics is still in session.
They're tearing it up.
So there are so many opportunities to see sports here at the U of I. You should go and see them. To get tickets for those that need tickets, go to fightingillini.com, where you can also find the schedule. Aspire, Achieve. That's what we do here at the University of Illinois Division of Intercollegiate Athletics. And I'm going to leave you guys on a cliffhanger. We will be right back after this break right here on WPGU 107.1. Hello and welcome back. I'm Joshua Joins, and you are listening to Rollin Illini on WPGU 107.1. Joined as always by Avery Schaefer, Miles Hill, and today Gabe Dembraber.
Who's back again?
Very proud of you. Very proud of you.
Yeah, you should be proud of me. So as we talked about kind of before the break, the men had 2 games this weekend. One was against the University of Alabama Crimson Tide, and one was against the University of Missouri Tigers, a bragging rights game. We're going to talk about the Friday night game first.
Spoiler alert, we don't have bragging rights.
Yeah. At this point.
Shh, don't give spoilers. You're not there yet. So if you'll remember, the last time we talked about on the show was after we came back from Auburn, in our tournament at Auburn, Alabama, where we handed the Alabama Crimson Tide their first loss of the season. We kind of thought it was a turning point in the season for the team. It was a big win. We won by 20. And then Alabama came into our place, and unfortunately, they came out on top in a game that had a really, really large crowd. The cheerleaders were there. The band was there. The atmosphere was incredible, but Alabama took control very, very quickly. They went on a 6-0 run to begin the game, and it didn't get much better throughout the first half. They were leading 52-29 at the end of the first half. They shot 71% in the first half, going 20 for 28. And
Where was the defense?
And they went 12 for 14 on the free throw line. That's a good question, Gabe. You want to take that one?
Oh.
Defensively, we just weren't playing together as a unit. We just tried way too hard. I think we let that win in Auburn get to our heads and kind of think that we were better than them. And we didn't realize that why we won is because we played as one team. And we were very connected on defense, and we talked on defense. And this time, defensively, just no one knew what to do. We were jumping from low, which in wheelchair basketball, you should never jump from low. We weren't communicating very well. We were playing one-on-one matchups, getting picked right and left, and just getting cut one-on-one. So defensively, it was awful in the first half, and then picked up a little bit in the second half.
Yeah. It seemed like we came out a little bit flat, and I think part of that was because the people on the court were overcompensating for trying not to be overexcited about being in the game. Because the atmosphere was something that, like, most of us never played in before. It was a really, really cool atmosphere, and we wanted to play well, but then we were just, a little overcome, and then I think we kind of got anxious really, really fast. Their largest lead of the game was right before the end of the first half was 48-21. It was a 27-point lead, and then some changes were made. There was one sub that was brought in.
Who's that sub?
Yeah, Josh.
I can't talk about it.
Who was that sub?
It was me. But
Who's me?
yeah, but then there was a little bit of a comeback, and I think that was kind of, if we want to take one good takeaway from the weekend, is like we were down by 27 points, but I don't think we ever really gave up. I mean, with
No.
6 minutes to go, we were down 11. It was a really good effort. The big one thing that we can talk about from the first one that wasn't mentioned is Ignacio Ortega, one of Alabama's big men, was out with a concussion when we played them in Auburn. He returned in a big way in this game. He had 40 points, going 15 for 20 from 2-point range, 0 for 1 from 3, and then 10 for 13 from the free throw line.
Yeah.
With 40 points, 9
like James
rebounds,
Harden.
and 2 assists. He dropped 40 on us. So that was
Yeah.
really something that you just can't afford to happen. And then,
I mean, if you think about it, if you just cut down half his points, it's a 5-point game.
yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
that easy.
Yeah, and then Michael Allprince, their big Australian guy, a guy who is one of their most looked after players. He went 11 for 17 for 23 points. He had 10 total rebounds for the double-double and 4 assists. And then DQ Robinson, the senior for them, went 7 for 14, 6 for 6 from the free throw line to have 20 points, 7 total rebounds, and 16 assists. So those 3 guys right there were the entire story of the game.
Yeah.
Their next leading scorer had 4 points. Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, those 3 guys beat us. It was kind of sucked.
Not kind of. It sucked.
It did. It was, but I think it's a good wake up call, right? It's one of those moments where the team had that moment now and not at nationals. We're working on a lot of that stuff in practice.
Yeah.
There was a bad feeling in your stomach at the end of that game. One that didn't. For the Illini, leading scorer was Gabe
Denberger.
with 19 points. He shot 8 for 15. Had some clutch threes down the
Shooter.
end when we were trying to reduce the score.
Yeah.
Went 3 for 7 from 3-point range with 5 rebounds and 2 assists. Thomas Duffy had 18 points, going 9 for 17 in the game. And then Willie Ben Morchuk went 5 for 18, 2 for 10 from 3-point range for only 13 points. And that's something that was missed. I think in the first game he had like 30 points.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so his shot was a little bit off this weekend, and that was something that we didn't make up for.
Yeah.
And then Josh Joynes went 5 for 10 for 12 points,
Shooter.
7 rebounds, and 4 assists.
Straight out of Atlanta.
And so, I mean, it was good, like
Yeah,
balanced scoring. I mean, we
Yeah.
had 4 Illini in double digits.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. It's just,
On paper, that's seems like it should be good.
Yeah. Well, when you look at it on paper from one side, it looks great, and then you see what Bama did offensively.
and if you have 3 people scoring 20 plus, that's not good.
I mean,
Right.
if I told you that in the first half of the game, the Illini shot 14 for 26 for 53.8%, you're like, wow, this is a close game. But then you're like, oh, the Crimson Tide shot 71.4%.
That's just insane.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, for the game, the Illini shot 44.6% to their 59.6%.
So there you go. Second half.
And
lot better
then,
defense.
then
So-
on the free throw line, I mean, we had very similar free throw percentages, but they had 21 attempts at the free throw line to our 4.
Yeah. So
And they made 17 of those. So they outscored us on free throws 17-3. The Illini actually outscored the Crimson Tide on points off turnovers 26-22. We just couldn't stop the bigs. The bigs kept cutting, and once they get in there, they get second chance points and
third
that's all
chance.
she wrote.
So, I have to ask, where would you say the mental state of this team is right now? Knowing that you've beat these guys before, and now you lose to them by 20 some odd points.
Yeah.
Vengeance.
I think you got to embrace the suck and move on.
Oh, yeah.
It was not a good feeling. We're gonna talk about the Mizzou game too.
Okay.
It was not a good feeling to lose by 20 points in both the games.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of like coming home from Alabama, we had a confidence that like was overconfidence and kind of arrogance, and I think this kind of brought us back down to earth. And we really worked hard in practice this week, and I think that's kind of where our heads at is like we got to work because we only got 4 weeks left in the season to correct the things that went wrong.
Yeah.
It's like we're a very, very young team. Like I think we're the youngest besides Auburn.
Mhm.
It's very good for us to beat them and then to get our butts absolutely handed us at home, because you need those kind of losses as a young team to realize, like we have that potential, but we have to work 10 times harder every day.
Yeah.
And like you have to take that loss and like that feeling. Like I played all 40 minutes, so I know like I busted my butt off. And so it was like to lose like that. And same with like Willie and everyone who came in.
Yeah.
Like those guys, like you sit there and you're like, man, I never want to have this happen again.
Yeah. And most definitely to say to Avery's point, like the practices this past week of, especially Monday when we came in, I mean you could feel it in there. Like usually people
Everybody
are
was
joking
there
around.
early.
Everybody was there early.
It was
and-
oddly quiet.
Yep.
yeah, it was
Which
bad.
were very loud and rambunctious
Yeah.
groups.
Yes.
So.
Which, I mean, has its pros and cons. I think it was, before Coach talked to us at the beginning of practice, it was more like a funeral. And,
Yeah.
and then it was no longer a funeral after like Coach got to us. I think we're all very motivated. And one of the funny things is like, I had one of my best performances in that Alabama game, but it didn't come in a win. So at the end of the day, like it's still a bad feeling. It's 'cause,
Right.
Like,
Yeah, but
You
I
know,
mean, it's still a spark. Like,
Yeah.
if you think about it, that's what we need, though, is like you coming in and like knowing that we can have that kind of spark, like from our bench, and like that's really good to have as a young team too. Like, because we're gonna get into foul trouble, people are gonna have off days. So to know that we can have people on the bench come in and do that kind of performance, that's really
Yeah.
good to have.
And I mean, everyone on our team's a shooter, and you just got to find the guy that's on. Defense is where we're focusing on, and that's going to continue into the Mizzou game, which was so it's odd to have 24 full hours
For a wheelchair basketball team.
for a wheelchair basketball team to recover.
Yep.
So we got to swap or flush what happened the day before, as we like to say, and go to the next game, but it ended with exactly the same result actually. So the University of Missouri, in the first half, the Illini kept it close. The halftime score was 30-26. The final score was 75-55. They outscored the Illini 45-29 in the second half.
Yeah.
The leading scorer for the Fighting Illini was Kyle Jankowski with 14 points, going 6 for 11. Then it was Thomas Duffy and Willie Morchuk tied for 12 points apiece. Gabe Denbrader had 11. Braber. Oh, my God. My bad.
You almost had it.
Yeah. I mean, once again, it's good scoring for the Illini. The interesting part about this is that we started a different lineup than we normally started. It was a lineup with 2 bigs, 2 class 1s, and then Gabe being a 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was not something we expected. Gabe, what were your thoughts on it?
It was different to be in that situation, like, than going away from our starting 5. But, like, I see where, like, Coach trying to input that lineup because you want to have different lineups just in case your starting 5 aren't feeling it.
Yeah.
Like, just are cold as a rock. And so you need to get a different lineup, different looks, different, like, matchups and different personnel on the court. So it was definitely a learning experience for me in that role because I'm not used to handing the ball for the majority of the possession.
Well, yeah, and the point of having the 2 bigs down low was to try to exploit a mismatch because we had a size mismatch.
Yeah.
Which worked really well. I mean, once we got it
Especially starting off the game. I think J-Mac started off with 6 straight points, and he was just going. It was a really great start for that lineup, and I think the look was actually a really good look to start, and
just got to
unfortunately
be
for us.
consistent with it and read the reads better.
Yeah.
The story of the game is once again shooting percentage. And the first half, the Missouri Tigers shot 15 for 25 for 60%. The Fighting Illini shot 12 for 29 for 41.4%. Still a 4-point game. And then in the second half, this is where the discrepancy happens. The Fighting Illini went 12 for 33, 36.4% to Mizzou's 17 for 23, 73.9%.
Yeah.
And it's hard to win a game when you shoot 38.7% and your opponent shoots 66.7%.
Yeah.
That's what it is. For the Missouri Tigers, Marshall Lindsay was the leading scorer with 18 points. He shot 6 of 12 in the game, excuse me. Tyler Boozy went 6 for 6 for 15 points. Sidney Atagabe had 11 points, and Eric Rodriguez, their big man, had 14 points. Pretty spread scoring for them as well.
Yeah.
But once again, shooting percentage was the story there. Mizzou did outscore us off turnovers 15-9. And out rebounded us 35-29. I've talked a lot, so I want grand scheme of things, what were your guys' thoughts on the weekend, but also like game by game, what did you think?
Yeah. Well, on the entire weekend, I would like to start off by saying appreciate the support, and it was really different. It was the most support I've ever seen at a wheelchair basketball game, other than maybe the national championship at like a juniors division tournament. But it was a really great atmosphere, and I think unfortunately that caught us off guard, especially with having 5 freshmen. 5 technical freshmen. Kev, I guess, has been in that situation before, but maybe not at UNO where he was. Yeah. But at the same time, I think that the weekend, our biggest takeaway was, of course, that our defense was just not where we wanted it to be, and I think our offense, especially against Bama, was not as bad as the game made it look like it was. And our shooting percentages are percentages that we have won games with at those same clips, and we just got to work on our defense, which understandable. We're making those changes most definitely now at practice, and we can definitely tell. Like you can already see the upgrade from there. So.
I agree. Like I agree with what Coach says. He says our offense will always be there. It's our defense.
Yeah.
Defense wins championships. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, not trying to say this but like look at New England. I mean, defense truly wins championships. If you can have a tenacious defense and just make people uncomfortable, you're going to win games. And so we just have to hunker down these next couple of weeks for nationals and our tournament next weekend in Edinburgh and do better. We have a chance at getting Missouri again and Edinburgh again. So those are going to be big statement games for us. So.
Yeah, most definitely.
I think the thing that stands out for me, specifically in this Missouri game, is the dichotomy between the first time we played them and the second time we played them. I think the first time we played them, the final score was 48-45.
Yes.
Yeah. The final score of this game was 75-55. Mm-hmm. So the first one was kind of a grinded out game. This one was a shootout.
Yeah.
That we just flat out didn't win. Honestly, the Mizzou loss was a 20-point loss, but it wasn't actually a 20-point loss.
Yeah, it was all those. Yeah. I think like 8 to 10 of those points were garbage points. Just like right at the end, you're fouling and
right.
Yeah, we fouled them, and then they hit some layups towards the end, and we couldn't hit any of our 3-point shots that we tried to get back in the game. I think when we started fouling, we were down by like 12 or something.
No, we were down by like 8 or 10.
Yeah. So doubled the lead in the last minute. So that wasn't really a 20-point loss. That game is way closer than the scoreboard makes it appear.
Yes.
And I think that's good. Mizzou always gives us a really, really good game. It's a rivalry game.
Yeah. Not only that, but they're very well coached. They're very fundamental.
Yeah.
So
Ron Likens, the head coach of the University of Missouri, is the Team USA Paralympic wheelchair basketball coach. So he has his guys ready to go every time.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of positives, right? Like we talked about this afterwards. Realistically, if we play as well as we can, or as well as we have in the next 2 tournaments, we're going into nationals 4th or 5th. Well, last year we went in 7th, so that's already an improvement, and we're theoretically younger than we were last year.
Yeah.
Because we had 2 seniors last year. There's no seniors on this Illini team this year, and only 2 juniors. So it's a very young team, so there's a lot of positive things to think about. But also, I think we start feeling the pressure because nationals is here at home.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be playing at the State Farm Center March 14th through 16th. You should all come out and watch us.
Yes, sir.
I know I will.
Yeah, for game times, it's going to be really cool to play there. Yeah. And I'm really glad that we had the support we did this weekend because it's going to prepare us for the support we have when nationals rolls around.
Yep.
But it's a quick regroup. This was the week that we had to recover. It's a quick turnaround here as we have back-to-back travel weeks.
Yep.
This weekend we're going to Edinburgh, Pennsylvania for a tournament where we have a game against the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, who we haven't played since we led at half and then lost the game in Whitewater in November. And then
next game is against Missouri.
Missouri, which is this game.
Yep.
Looking for a win against them. And then on Sunday,
Auburn and Edinburgh.
We play Auburn and Edinburgh, who beat us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Our last game is
Auburn.
Edinburgh at home. So I mean, there are realistically 3 games that are going to come down to how well we play, and they're big games to see how well our rankings come. So a big week upcoming for the Illini men's team. The women are playing Whitewater
twice,
and Edinburgh.
And those are big games for them too.
Yeah.
Deciding who's going to be 3rd and 4th. In the past, Whitewater has not had a legal lineup. Now they have the players to have a legal lineup based off the point system.
Mm-hmm.
Big weekend, and then kind of a fun trip the week after that. We're going to Toronto.
Oh yeah.
To play some of the Toronto's teams, Drake's hometown. So that'll be a lot
Shout
of
out
fun.
Drake, if you want to come out.
Yeah.
Drake,
We'd love to have you.
Drake, if you happen to be listening to a Champaign radio station on a random Friday night, come out. Watch the game. We'll send the details. You can follow all these updates on Illinois Wheelchair Basketball's Facebook page. We post game times. There's also a live stream if you can't make the game. So follow Illini Wheelchair Basketball. Also follow Rolling Illini because we share a lot of their stuff and a lot of content both on Facebook and Twitter. So follow us there. What else you guys got?
What else we got?
About that weekend?
About this past weekend?
Or are you talking about looking ahead?
We can look ahead. That's fine. What do
Let's
you?
look ahead.
Yeah. What do you see
Yeah.
looking ahead?
What do you see looking ahead, man?
I see. No. Confidence did me during the last time we did it. I see we have some really good games to play. Whitewater will be a really good one for us. Missouri and Edinburgh should be really good ones for us. Especially Missouri. That's a really crucial one because we're 0-2 against them this season. So even this win doesn't necessarily secure us any type of edge over them, but it's just really important because going 0-3 would really hurt us. In Edinburgh, we're 0-1 against them as well. So
Kind of need that win to wash. Or
yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here
Alrighty.
and say that what I'm seeing from you guys is that you have to hold your opponents under 50% shooting to win games.
Yeah.
Because you don't do well in shootouts.
Ooh.
We can.
I actually beg to differ. UTA was a
Yeah.
shootout.
UTA,
to
the
say
final score was
least.
like 81-71
Yeah.
Yes.
or something like that.
I
Yeah.
think it's just
It just depends on the day.
yeah.
Honestly, but you're right. Holding your opponents under 50% is a huge indicator on whether or not you're going to win because then you don't have to rely on your shooting
Yeah.
percentage.
Yeah.
So defense is going to be a major focus.
No
focusing ahead.
offense, man. But
No.
No, hey, I like that observation.
Yeah.
I just think we're gonna be well prepared next week, for sure. Obviously our heads are gonna be more focused.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've been put down, so
Yeah.
I mean, just like we've always said, like you get knocked down, you gotta get back up. So
Yep.
Yeah.
we're definitely looking for a get back up weekend next week. So
There's a crap feeling coming out on last weekend, and so now we're regrouped. We're focused ahead. There's only a month left in the season.
Yep.
Wow.
So
that
we're
went fast.
yeah we're in a sprint to the end, very much so. So once again, Illini Nation, we need you. We need you bad. March 14th through 16th is national tournament. It's right here in Champaign at the State Farm Center.
look
Sure.
for updates again on the Illinois Wheelchair Basketball page nearing the end of February and March for seeds and game times.
Yeah, it should
Yep.
be free
Yep.
for
Yeah.
people coming to watch. So it's right before spring break. So once you take those final exams that you're going to take, because professors put exams right before spring break. Once you're done with that, come out and watch us before you head
Yeah.
out for wherever you're going for spring break. We'd really appreciate it. You can find Gabe, me, or Miles, and if you're like, hey, we listened to your show, we would
Yeah.
love to talk to you about the sport and whatever. And I mean, we'll take pictures too.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not that famous yet, but
Yeah.
definitely Josh with the
You'll be there.
yeah.
And find me too.
Yeah,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and Avery and
Avery will
won't
be a
there.
supporter.
The 1969 national championship team that won a national championship at what was then called Assembly Hall, which is now the State Farm Center, will be there. So a lot of history and tradition coming together for a big event, and we need you guys out there. Next week, I think Zane and Avery will be covering it.
Yes.
So that'll be really exciting for that.
Oh yeah.
So that's it for Illinois wheelchair basketball for this week. But couple of things before we get out of here. Number one, just after or last week and early this week, the International Paralympic Committee reinstated Russia into the Paralympic movement. They had been banned after the big doping scandal.
Yep.
It was kind of a quick, I think, reinstatement.
Yeah.
But I think part of it was they knew that they were going to be reinstated before the next Paralympics. They wanted to give them time
To prepare.
to prepare.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was kind of a surprising statement. There was some outcry from a lot of people in the Paralympic movement, but it is what it is. Russia is back in, and,
Yep.
and so we will see them
Don't
in
matter.
the
'cause
2020 Tokyo
USA, baby.
Oh yeah.
2020 Tokyo Games. Yeah, you guys got any one last big thing you want to talk about this week?
Big things.
I mean, I don't really have any.
Snacks.
You don't have anything?
Yeah,
It's Natty season.
Well, self-promo here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I like it.
I just applied to the College of Media to officially become a journalism major.
Hey,
Okay,
congratulations!
You have one that claps
Attaboy,
for
Avery.
me.
Attaboy.
Yes, sir.
That application's due today, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I find out March 11th.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That is a Monday. So the show following that Monday, I will be able to either tell you if I'm happy or not.
Yeah.
Well, we'll send some good vibes your way, and hopefully you get in there.
Hear me out. Hear
Absolutely.
me out, Avery.
Yeah.
March 11th comes. You've applied. You've been accepted.
Yeah.
And then you come out to nationals and you watch us and it's
Yeah.
a grand old time. And then you go to spring break. It's
It's a great time.
'cause, yeah.
Hey, I want to end the show on a little bit of a serious note, not related to anything wheelchair basketball, but today there was a mass shooting here in the state of Illinois in a suburb of Chicago. 5 people were killed and 5 police officers were wounded. So just wanted to take the opportunity to thank our first responders,
Amen.
the people who protect us day in and day out.
Most definitely.
Gun violence sucks. It's
You
an
put a stop
epidemic
to
in
it.
this country. But just knowing that there's people out there that are willing to risk their lives for us is really important. So
Yeah.
just a shout out to all the first responders. This is another sobering reminder of how important and how dangerous their job is.
Yeah.
So my thoughts and prayers are all with, my prayers are with those victims
Yes.
throughout the time. But yeah, so follow us. Now that that part's over, I just wanted to do that before we got out of here.
Yeah.
So once again, follow us on the Rolling Illini Facebook page. You can also find us on Twitter, where Zane Bando, our social media director, is very, very active. He's been live tweeting the show. I've been getting some updates from that.
Yeah.
You can watch us on UPTV on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. So if you missed the show, or if you want to see our pretty faces, you can watch us on television. We just winked at the camera.
Josh
So
is a very gorgeous.
yeah, you'll get to see that if you watch the show.
He's kind of a big deal.
God, that's a reference to a sweater I'm wearing right now. So find us on there. A huge thanks to Andrew Scalera for always coming out and filming us. Catch us on UPTV
Shout
on
out,
Wednesday. So I guess that's it for this week for self promo and whatever. So I'm Joshua Joins for Miles Hill, Gabe Dimbraber. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Actually,
Yeah.
Special
Shout out.
guest.
Thank you for having me.
Special
Shout out to my
guest
trio.
Gabe Dimbraber and Avery Schaefer. Andrew Scalera with UPTV. You listen to the Rolling Illini on WPGU 107.1. Keep it rolling and have a fantastic week.
See you later.